Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tanya Smagaki, Head of Community and Partnerships here at Vantage Ventures. For those of you who are new to our community, Vantage Ventures was an initiative started out of the John Chambers School of Business and Economics here at West Virginia University. It serves to launch high-impact, scalable businesses that are tackling complex challenges, and we are home to a fearless new generation of high-level entrepreneurs. Joining us today for our Real Talk as we round out Women's History Month is Dr. Carrie White. She's the Executive Director of WVU Morris L. Hayhurst LaunchLab. We're honored to have Dr. White with us today as we celebrate her vision and learn how she and her team help students, faculty, and staff develop and grow with the LaunchLab. This community-based center offers hands-on idea for support, education, mentoring, prototyping. I actually got to see this really cool 3D printer that they have, which are several, and offers connections to innovative entrepreneurs across the state of West Virginia. Dr. White has over 20 years of business law and entrepreneurship experience. She is a former owner of 2 startup companies and also a business startup consultant in both Pennsylvania and West Virginia regions. She has a PhD in higher ed from WVU, a GD law degree from Duquesne School of Law, and both MBA and Bachelor of Science from Franciscan University. Please join us today as we have Dr. White here to give us all of her thoughts and help. This will be a moderated panel to start, and then we'll move into a Q&A option with our audience. Just so you know, the panel will be recorded. So we are on record right now, and we look forward to a very rich discussion. So Dr. White, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, inviting me, Tanya. I really appreciate it. These presentations are always so enjoyable for me. I like to always come to the ones you guys give.
We're glad to have you. So I guess to start, the WVU Morris L. Hayhurst LaunchLab facilitates a variety of entrepreneurial processes and expands the entrepreneurial opportunities across the campus and within our community. Tell us a little bit about the LaunchLab and how it supports innovative projects.
Yes, of course. The Morris L. Hayhurst LaunchLab was started in the summer of 2014. So we've been in business for a while, but we always still feel like a startup, because we're always doing things differently and changing things around and trying to improve the way we operate. But basically, when it was first started, it was an initiative to support the West Virginia Collegiate Business Plan competition. And because there were only a couple of people that were working in the LaunchLab at that time. Now in 2022, we have 3 full-time professional staff, and we have about 12 student workers. So our staff has grown significantly. I started here in the summer of 2016, so the LaunchLab was still relatively new when I started. There were only 2 of us working here at the time. So right now we've served about 4,000 students since 2014, and we've launched about 300 and some businesses or products, and have created several hundred jobs for both the students and full-time workers. So it's been a significant impact. But basically the way we operate is we're available to all students and faculty across the university. So we work with every single college. And basically, people come to us from every different angle, but generally we'll get someone who has an idea for either a product, a service, or a business. We'll sit and brainstorm with them, we use the business model canvas as our tool, and we'll brainstorm with them on, what it is, what do they want to do with it? Do they want to commercialize something? Do they want to license some technology? What do they want to do? And then we gather together the resources that they need. So resources might be people, they might need an introduction to somebody. They might need specialized skills from somewhere across the university. They may need money. They might need an attorney. They might need, an accountant. So prototyping, you mentioned our Maker Lab. They might need prototyping, So we really try to access the resources that they need to continue to move their product or service forward. And then we have opportunities for pitch competitions as well. As a matter of fact, we have a pitch competition tomorrow night, March 30th, if anybody wants to attend. But we do pitch competitions throughout the year, so students have an opportunity to pitch their idea, get feedback, and also potentially win some money.
Excellent. I got to sit in the pitch last week. I really enjoyed it.
They're a
Students
lot of
doing some
fun.
things with the purpose and the sustainable development goals, and just really some great creative ideas.
Yeah.
So what are some of the biggest learnings from your career and your entrepreneurial journey that you feel that you bring as the steward to the LaunchLab?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because sometimes, we don't have time for a lot of self-reflection when you're moving forward all the time. But it's a really great question, and it causes me to really pause a moment, because at this point, after having done this so long, I think my problem solving is probably the biggest skill that I bring. Everybody who works here in the LaunchLab has a specialized skill, and I just try to organize everybody. But I think having started my own companies to where I am now in higher ed, and having been teaching entrepreneurship for 18 years, I really feel like it's the ability to problem solve, ability to not shut down when things aren't going your way, because I probably had more failures than successes throughout my lifetime, and I'm still here, still doing it. So I think it's just the ability to keep moving forward, or find a better way to do something. But we've had a lot of working in the university system. It's very, very different than working in your own private business. And having that ability to not, you don't get to make all the decisions, and you get told no a lot when you're working in a system, and you have to have the ability to pivot, to problem solve, to be creative. And I think all of those things, no matter where you are in business, those are all going to be really valuable skills.
Well, I can say from the students that I've seen, both at Vantage Ventures and at the LaunchLab, there's definitely a lot of passion for entrepreneurship. Would you have any words of advice to a young entrepreneur who is starting out?
Yes. I pretty much only get to work with college students, but we do some programs with the high school students, really all the way down to the K-12 levels. And, anybody who has passion can be an entrepreneur. And, of course, working in higher ed, I always encourage people to get a degree, but it's not necessary really to be an entrepreneur, because you've got to have creativity, you've got to have perseverance, and you have to have passion about what you're doing. If you don't really, really love it, and you don't really, and you don't want to do it every minute of your day, then maybe it's not, maybe entrepreneurship's not for you, because you really do have to be passionate about it. So for students anywhere, if they feel passionate about it, then chances are they're going to do well.
Would you have any recommendations of a specific coursework or body of knowledge that you really would recommend that an entrepreneur, absolutely try to have?
Well, the ones we get in the LaunchLab come from every academic discipline. So I can't really say that there's one specific, area or discipline or course that they should take, because they can learn the skills for entrepreneurship are transferable to any discipline. But I think if you have a basic understanding of, you need to have a basic understanding of numbers, like how are you going to make money? How are you going to pay bills? So I think some finance is important at some time along the way. Even if you hire an accountant, you still need to be able to understand your own numbers. So I think that's important. Design is important. So, if you're designing a product and you have some design skills, whether it be graphic design or engineering, some sort of design skills, but you can't really teach people to be passionate about what they're doing. So they either are or they aren't. And if they really are, they'll find the resources that they need. And that's really a lot of what we teach here is if we know that you're really passionate about what you want to do, we can get you what you need to move forward. If you don't have it already, we'll find it. And I think those skills are the ones that entrepreneurs need to learn when they leave us and go, to Vantage or elsewhere. Being resourceful, be honest with yourself about what you know and what you don't know, and then be resourceful about finding the things that are going to help move you forward. And so, yes, finance is important. Of course, design is important. Communication skills are critical. Can you speak to people?
Yeah.
But everything else is just, be loving what you do.
Can you give us a favorite success story of one of your entrepreneurs?
We have so many, and they're in so many different areas. And I know that probably everyone here is familiar with Iconic Air. And, we're just still so proud of Kyle and James starting here in the LaunchLab and having so much success. And not all of our students are in Forbes 30 under 30, but we do have, we have some med students who were LaunchLab clients who are operating a company called SwiftTag, and they work with laboratory animal testing, and they develop technology around testing laboratory animals. They're doing very well. If you're here in Morgantown, which it looks like most people are, you're familiar with Pantry Plus More. Rourke Sizemore was a LaunchLab client, launched out of here, and is doing very well. He's a social entrepreneur and gives back to the community. Jordan Masters is another one who had, he may have changed the name of his company, but it was Allegheny Genesis when he was here, and has 2 greenhouses, I believe, and was a LaunchLab client. And I know I'm gonna forget so many, but we have, like I said, we've worked with thousands of students across the campus. Bobby Noble currently is growing. He's got a growing hydroponics over in the greenhouse here on campus. And then we work with I-Corps. I teach in the NSF I-Corps, as well as, we have about 7 faculty members across campus who teach the I-Corps program. And that's really working with researchers and helping them commercialize their research. And we've had some nice successes out of the I-Corps program too. And we use the same model for the undergraduate students that we use for faculty researchers. So it's not that we have to do anything differently. Once you've got an ideation to commercialization plan, it doesn't matter what your product or service is. It's pretty much the same pathway.
So a good question came in for one of our executive director of Vantage Ventures. How can early entrepreneurs learn to appreciate failure?
How can early entrepreneurs? Oh, you know what? We actually run them through failure programs here in the LaunchLab. We make sure that they experience that failure while they're here. It's part of the education process, right? You can't, I always tell the students here, you read about the successful entrepreneurs, in the news and online and everything, and you always see all their successes, but you never hear about all the failure that happened before they got where they were. So they had lots of failure. We run them through exercises here where we make them pitch us a bad product, and we give them like very negative feedback. And it's not personal, it's not a personal attack, but we want them to flex those muscles to know what it feels like to have a bad pitch, a bad product. Nobody wants it. And then what are you gonna do? Are you gonna cry, or are you gonna go back and make it better? And so we walk them through that. It's uncomfortable, they don't like it. And some of them do get really upset and take it as a personal attack, but it's not meant that way at all. We feel like if you have never used that muscle before, what are you gonna do when it really happens, when a venture capitalist tells you, I'm not giving you money, I don't think your product's any good.
So this was kind of one of my fun questions I put in for color. What do you think is harder, going to law school or being an entrepreneur?
Oh, wow. Those are two totally different skill sets. Law school, any kind of school, whether it's law school or otherwise, generally you have a pretty structured environment. right? And you're told, here's what you do, here's how long you have to do it. You know, you got to take this test, you got to, you know, and everything's pretty structured. Entrepreneurship is the Wild West, right? There's really no, when you're out there on your own trying to build your business, there's no one telling you, okay, today read this chapter, take this test. Tomorrow we're going to do this chapter, take this test. You have this assignment. So it really, you know, although any type of education is valuable and people, you know, I always am very appreciative of the education I've received and I use it. But entrepreneurship, you really have to be willing to work on your own and figure things out without someone telling you what to do and how to do it and grading you. A lot of time, you know, in school, you get grades and you know if you're doing well. Entrepreneurship, you have no idea if you're doing well. If someone's buying your product, you think, okay, maybe I'm doing well.
If a student, faculty member, or maybe person in the community wanted to get involved with the LaunchLab, what would the next steps be?
So on our web, the easiest way to become a client is on our website. It's launchlab.wvu.edu. There is an intake form, and they just fill out some basic information about what they want to work on, and it comes to us, and then we schedule a meeting right away. We prefer face-to-face, but we do virtual as well. And then we start them right into the process. If they would like to work with the LaunchLab or be a resource for the LaunchLab, then we would love to have the help. I'm always very appreciative of anybody who wants to serve as a mentor for the students, wants to provide a resource for the students. And then if that's the case, they can just call me or email me directly. I'm always very happy to have people who are willing to work with our students because, you know, we don't have all the expertise. And so I'm always looking for people with specific areas of expertise. And once our students leave us, once they graduate, a lot of times we don't have that next step for them. You know, Vantage is a wonderful, wonderful resource, but not everybody's going to go into Vantage, right? So that handoff from university student to now budding entrepreneur is very, very difficult. That's a giant step for them. And all of our services in the LaunchLab are at no cost. And so all of a sudden now they're hit with, oh, I've got student debt. I've got, you know, to run my business. How am I going to get all this money? And it's very, very difficult without a mentor or someone guiding them. So if they want to become a client, website, intake form, and if they want to be a mentor, just contact me directly because I would love to have people who are willing to support these students. Because Tanya, like you said, you know, they come up with wonderful ideas, wonderful businesses, and can have a certain amount of success while they're a student. But once they leave us, I feel like, okay, fly away, little bird, and then where are they supposed to go?
Well, that would lead us, I guess, to my next question. How do you feel like the Vantage Ventures and the LaunchLab could partner together in the role of the entrepreneurial ecosystem?
Yeah, I think this is such a wonderful pathway from the LaunchLab kind of being the beginning spot for students and faculty, and then kind of the goal end game being with Vantage, because you know, we all share the same goals in supporting entrepreneurship. And I know you all have the more advanced level entrepreneurs who are actually out there, you know, running their businesses. And we have the beginning stages. And I would love to have, and not that this isn't happening, I would just love to have more of that. Can we interact with the entrepreneurs that you have in Vantage who could possibly mentor some of the students that are graduating from the LaunchLab? Because, you know, your entrepreneurs are living what these guys want to do. And so that mentorship, or even just, you know, knowing that someone's there for them that they can go to ask questions, is just so valuable for our LaunchLab clients.
I guess I could also talk about how both our executive director, Sarah Biller, yourself, as well as Dr. David Brower, you've even employed some of, you know, some of the students have been able to come over and intern, which has been great, you know, just to be able to work for a startup, even for a semester. That's such wonderful internship.
Yeah,
experience.
such great experience because you can't really learn entrepreneurship without doing it, right? You really have to get out there. You got to get in the trenches. You just have to learn by doing. I could read books about it all day, but until you really get out there and do it, I could read books about medicine. That doesn't make me a physician, right? I got to get out and do it.
So I have a good question came in that said, how could a potential entrepreneur know that he or she is ready for the path ahead?
Oh, wow, that's a really great question. I guess it depends on where you are in this stage of the game. If you've already made some traction, you're probably not as well. You still might be very fearful. If you've made some traction and you've got some wins already behind you, then you're probably more likely to keep moving forward. When I get a student who comes in with an idea and they don't hear what they want from me or someone on my team, then a lot of times they give up. We're not saying the right things to them that they thought they were, we didn't start cheering for their idea because we told them they needed some work. So that ability to persevere, that ability to say, I'm going to move forward, and not in a way that I'm not going to listen to other people. That's another big part of entrepreneurship. We tell our students that you need to go talk to some people. You need to go get in front of some potential customers and get some feedback. And if everybody tells you no, okay, maybe it's not perfect. Maybe it just needs to be tweaked, but don't give up. That's the biggest thing. If you're ready to give up right out of the box, then this isn't for you. You got to keep pushing.
Yes, resiliency.
Yes.
Definitely in there. I think I mentioned when I began, we're in Women's History Month. Any carrots of advice to the female entrepreneurs out there?
Oh, yay. I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yes, just kind of to backtrack a little bit on our student innovators. When we first started, the LaunchLab, or at least when I first came here in 2016, we had about 17% of our student clients were female. And so that says a lot about, the gender differences and what was going on at the time. Now, we do have a lot of engineering students, and engineering students tend to, they're very heavily male populated in those courses. So we started holding, women pitch competitions to get some of the women on campus out and get them more involved in pitching. And then we saw significant growth after we started doing that. So we're still not quite 50-50 on gender, but we're getting closer, and we are getting more females. And tomorrow's pitch competition is dominated by female innovators, students. So I'm really happy to see that shift happening. And the other gender difference that we noticed, because I do study this, I like to kind of say I don't do any official research, but just based on my own observations, female entrepreneurs who come into the LaunchLab, they come in with their ideas pretty fully baked, right? They've done a lot of research, they've done a lot of work. I really don't know why, other than maybe they think it needs to be completed before they come in and seek help. Where a lot of the male students will just come in with an idea. They've just thought of it while they were walking across campus and they wanted to talk to someone about it. And then, we really start. So and I think that was the reason why we weren't getting as many females, because they, for whatever reason, felt like they had to have a fully baked idea, fully baked business before they even came into the LaunchLab. So we've been really trying to push and explain that that's not the case at all. And so it's grown. But advice for female entrepreneurs or female innovators is, the same I would tell a male student is, you don't give up. No matter what someone tells you, don't give up. Take constructive criticism, take what people are saying, but go with your gut. Because again, if you're passionate about what you're doing, then you're going to be successful. But don't let people tell you you're crazy, it's a bad idea, you're never going to be successful. Don't let people put you down. You know, have that confidence in yourself. If you're passionate and you're confident, you'll do well. And that's what I think a lot of women entrepreneurs need to hear, because I think there's more no's out there than yeses, and you have to be able to get around that and keep going.
So another great question came in. How can we engage students, faculty, and staff at WVU from all disciplines and departments in helping to make West Virginia a startup state?
Oh my goodness. I wish I had the answer to that. I would have done it years ago. You know what? It has changed in the 18 years that I've been teaching entrepreneurship and working with young innovators. It has really changed as far as the collaboration around the state. You know, people are working together to try to support startups and innovation and creativity. And I love what's happening right now, both at the university and across the state of West Virginia. I've never seen a more positive environment for innovators, and I'm super happy to do that. Can we do more? Certainly, we can always do more. And and across the university, we have a program called the Idea Faculty Fellows, and I see Ed Nelson is on here, and he is one of our new faculty fellows. But these faculty actually they come from every college on campus, and we're in our 6th cohort of faculty fellows. So that's 35 faculty that we have now, and they work with innovation in their area of study. So they come from, you know, we've had business, creative arts, you know, agriculture, you know, theater. They come from every college. And they're working, you know, their work is in innovation in their area of emphasis, but we're starting to weave innovation into all of the different departments on campus. So no matter where you are as a student, you're aware of the innovative processes, the resources that are available to you. And, you know, then we have the larger innovation centers, right? So we have LaunchLab, we have Vantage, we have Encova, we have the Media Innovation Center. We have all of these centers across campus where there are facilities for students to work as well. So, you know, I think that networking across campus, sharing of information, sharing of facilities and support for students, whether they're here at WVU or anywhere in West Virginia, you know, this whole network is growing and students are finding out about it, which is super terrific.
We had an entrepreneur that even was an alumni. He came back and he thought of an idea afterwards. So
yay,
it is great. You know, it is wonderful.
We get people from the community who do call the LaunchLab and just, you know, ask if they could come in and just brainstorm with us. And I say, of course, you know, you don't have to be here on campus. If you just want to come and brainstorm an idea with us, and we can, you know, share our process with you and get you the best, you know, the best that we can as far as resources. You know, we've got so much expertise on this campus. I don't think people realize, you know, the air that's just, you know, when I'm looking, I might be looking for something really specific for a student, and I can always find it on this campus. I can always find the person who has that expertise. And I can't think of a time that I've been told, no, I can't help you. I mean, the campus community is incredible as far as just being willing to help these students however they can. You know, we have the only patent librarian in the state of West Virginia here in our Evansdale library. Marian Armour-Gemmon is just, she has been invaluable to our students. She helps them with all their patent searching, intellectual property registrations, I could go on and on about this campus and the expertise that we have here. It's incredible.
Okay, well, at this point, we can still open it up to some more questions. Don't be bashful. I guess it helps when you're an entrepreneur and you have a law degree. You're like, hey, that's my idea.
You must have asked some really great questions, Tanya.
I mean,
Yeah, good job,
usually have to pull
Tanya.
the cane. Usually have to put the cane
Sarah.
on.
We tried to put them in the chat for you, Carrie, so it made it a little bit easier
Oh, okay.
for you to
But-
read it as things were popping up in our heads, but it's
I'm glad
fabulous
you
what
were-
you're doing with the students. To hear that you've helped 300 launch something is so remarkable to hear at WVU. It's terrific.
Yeah, they do. The students who come in now, like I said, we've had thousands of them through our door. And, the large majority don't move forward with their ideas, but that's true of, any area, any type of business, and especially for entrepreneurship, because they don't really know what it is until they come in. And then if we don't tell them that's the most wonderful thing we've ever seen, then sometimes we lose them. But the ones who have, they've got that spirit, they want to keep going with it, and they'll be successful. Iconic Air is a perfect example of that, because they were not giving up, and they used the ecosystem, right? All of these resources that we have that I was just mentioning, they used every single one of them. So that's what you got to do.
Okay, there's a question that came in. Any words of advice on how a new entrepreneur can go about defining success?
Oh, yeah. Wow. And that kind of, goes back to my comparison to school, because, A's mean success. Entrepreneurship can be really, gray area. How do I know? I think that talking to people is very, very, very important. So especially early on. And I think there's a misunderstanding sometimes with young entrepreneurs. When they have an idea for something, they're afraid to share it because someone else is going to steal it. But that's not the case, because if you don't talk to people about it and get other people's opinions and run it past a few people who are impartial, right? They're not your friends and family who are going to tell you everything you do is lovely, but people who might be a potential customer or a potential user of your product or service, and really get some good, honest feedback from them. If you get good, honest, and positive feedback, that's a huge win. That's a huge win. If you have people who will tell you, yes, I'll use your product and I would pay money for it, that's a great way to know that you're onto something. But if you're afraid to talk about it, or if you don't really feel 100% passionate about it, then you're probably not going to move forward. And that's definitely not a success, not a win. You've got to really feel passionate and get good feedback. Money's great, but you don't want to get money invested in something that's not going to be successful, or that you just are going to give up on. So that good, honest customer feedback is important. And and then of course having the ability to actually create the thing that you want to create.
So a question came in, and I'm not sure if ICOR, does your area handle ICOR? I should know that.
I was
if
just
I
saying,
don't.
Carrie, have you talked about ICOR? I didn't know if you talked about that, but I feel like it's really powerful, something that we do here.
Yeah, I
WVU.
did. I mentioned it, Tara, but I can certainly elaborate a little bit more on that. So if you're not familiar with ICOR, it's the National Science Foundation, and it's Innovation Corporation is what they call it. And it's the courses that we teach here at WVU are 5-week on everything's virtual now. It used to be in person where people would come into the LaunchLab, but now we do everything virtual. So it's a 5-week course where it's generally faculty and grad student researchers, but we've had some undergrads as well who have something that they're researching that they've maybe built that they want to commercialize. And so we teach them the business model canvas, and basically we talk about creating value, and then doing your customer surveys, your customer interviews. And so those are the two first steps that we do with the researchers. And it's really defining the value. And like I said, I use the same process with the LaunchLab clients as I do with the researchers. So it's all the same. Identifying the value, what value are you creating and for whom? Those are the two biggest links that we help in the ICOR program. And if they can, and they spend 5 weeks just doing that. what value have you created and who's it for? We hardly talk at all about the technology that they've created, because we have to make sure that it has a product market fit before we ever even get into the details of the technology. And quite frankly, we work with scientists and engineers and physicians, and I don't have that level of knowledge. So when they start down the technology route anyways, they lose me. So it's funny, we bring in two different languages almost, right? We've got these researchers speaking their language, and then we've got the commercialization and the business side speaking our language. And it can be tricky trying to understand each other and what we're trying to accomplish, but that's what they do, value and customer discovery. Once they get through that, they qualify for funding through the National Science Foundation. They can move their projects forward. There's a national I-Corps where they go for, I forget how long it is, it's several months. And they have to do 100 customer interviews, and they qualify for funding for that, to do the interviews, any expenses that they have. And then they get, we work with our tech transfer office. I saw Hamid was on here just a minute ago, to help them get their either licensing, commercialize their product, whatever it is they want to do in the end of the game.
Okay, wonderful. So any other ending questions coming in? We can try allow the chat open.
Yeah, and if anybody has questions after this, you're welcome to contact me. Our LaunchLab hours are Monday through Thursday. We're open 9 till 4, but we also take appointments virtually. We do appointments on Friday too. We just do them virtually. So if anybody wants to reach me, I'm here most of the time.
Okay, well, Carrie, thank you again for
I
everything.
see a question from Bill Woodrum.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, Bill, thank you for the question. Bridging Innovation next week will be held in Charleston from Monday through Thursday. We have business plan competitions. We have the ecosystem conference. It's going to be a huge event. So yes, Tara, thank you for the link. As if I needed prompting, Bill.
Busy week next week. We're excited
It's
to
a very
join.
busy week. I hope people can join us. Yeah, it's a lot going on. It'll be at the convention center.
I haven't been to Charleston in a while, so very excited.
Are you coming?
Like I am. I'll be there
Yeah.
Monday through Wednesday. Yeah.
I'll be there all week myself. Looking forward to it.
All right. Well,
I have dining
any other-
suggestions if you need them, Tanya.
you have suggestions?
What'd you say, Bill?
I have dining suggestions if any of you all traveling down need them, just reach out. I have great.
I heard
dining
you were
suggestions.
cooking up spaghetti for the whole, conference. Something yummy.
There is a reception every night, Tuesday through Thursday, if you're in town. So lots going on.
Yes, very
Just have to
exciting.
make sure you respond and not crash, right? That'd be for time.
You
Bill
got
and-
to get by Tara if you crash. That's my gatekeeper.
Bill and Tara are going to need a long vacation after this is over. They've been working for so long and so hard on this event, but it's going to be phenomenal.
Well, Carrie, thank you again for such a wonderful real talk, and just, you're such an asset to the community. I've met some entrepreneurs that are students. I've also met, even people that like Mitch, the power washer.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, but you're always one that helps. If you don't have the answer, you direct the person to help you and your team, and we really do appreciate it. And we thank you again for being here for our real talk.
Thank you for having me. It was so much fun.
Okay, well, that's it for now. Make sure you join us next month. Tanya Smagaki from Vantage Ventures, and have a great day, everyone.